Welcome to Agents of Screen, the first and only place to come to for movie reviews live at the cinema. We have just finished watching the latest Disney live action adaptation, the classic Lion King. We're going to our first impressions for the film. James, we all know the cartoon to be classic. Just finished watching, fresh out the cinema, screen still behind us. What's your first take on the film?
I never want to see another Disney remake again. That's it. It's over. It is actually over. Like, the way Disney are cash grabbing these films is disgusting. They tweak things around that are fan favorites. They change songs around that have no business being changed, and it's just unnecessary. So just stop it, make some new things, and bun this. Like, it's over. I'm not watching Little Mermaid. Like, I refuse. Might see it on stream like Netflix when it comes out on Prime like 5 years later or something, like, but that's it.
Fair enough. Daryl, how do you feel? That was very strong words from James. Very strong. Well, what do you say?
I'm not going to be as harsh as James. I think it's weird because these films, that you either keep them the same or you try to change things, and you can't please everyone. So I think this film suffers because the other remakes, they had the opportunity of being a live action, as in like actual humans. Yeah. Whereas this film just felt like it was trying to be an upgrade, because really all it is a cartoon turned into CGI. And I just don't feel like the expressions on their faces, for example, compared to like the cartoon, where like you got like Timon and Pumbaa, where the eyes are so huge and like, you know, there's a lot of going on in their faces. And with this film, it just felt like you can't really connect because they're just real animals. And with the real animal aspect, you can't really see much going on with their faces. Like, even the iconic S.C.R.E.E.N, I mean, I love S.C.R.E.E.N, but in this film, it just seemed a bit plain, and I don't know, man.
Yeah, my first impression of the movie, I felt visually it was stunning.
Yes.
But I would say this film was unnecessary apart from that. Nothing new. I felt this wasn't for our generation.
Yes.
It wasn't for us at all. It was for the kids that have never seen, or anyone that's never seen Lion King before. But I agree with James. I feel like it's just a cash grab. They know they're playing on the nostalgia of our generation and say, oh, Lion King, let me go see that again. But, you know, ultimately I left very disappointed.
I'm sorry not to cut your stuff off, but what's worse is even in the trailer, obviously there's a lot of videos out with like, you know, we've done one as well where you have like for like old trailer versus new.
Great trailer.
Yeah, great trailer. But that's the thing, is that's how they get you, isn't it? Because like we were saying, the cash grab is let's make the exact trailer, get there, you know, get your nostalgia running, like, oh, I need to see this, right? And then as soon as they got you in bums and seats, they're like, gotcha, bitch. So it is what it is, but yeah.
I think I have a kind of analogy of how to sum up this film.
Cool.
An old classic Whitney Houston song, and then it's now remade word for word by, say, someone new like Ariana Grande. You have better production. The studio technically is better, but you can never really recapture the magic of the original. So that being said, let's get into what we enjoyed about the film, even though we have seen like a wave of disappointment amongst the three of us.
Yeah.
James,
Yeah,
I can come to you first.
I've got a few things. So the introduction to the film, they got like the whole intro right, like the whole circle of life, the music as well. For like the start of the music, the Circle of Life music, that was very good. I thought they really did that well. I was quite surprised by how well Timon and Pumbaa was. There was a very good synergy with Timon and Pumbaa.
Okay, what about you, Daryl?
I mean, there's not going to be much on this one. I mean, he's pretty much said all of it.
Say to him, just say one and then break it down.
I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, obviously the special effects were great. No one's disputing that. I think the sceneries were great. Some of the cinematics were good. But again, you're just rehashing what you've already done. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, the cast, if I was to speak on the cast, I would say, yeah, Timon and Pumbaa are probably the best part of the cast. And they weren't that great, but I'm saying out of the pickings available, they were the best like combo duo. Maybe it's because they have a dynamic, because obviously they're feeding off each other, they're you know, talking off each other. So that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I can agree. As I said, I don't want to downplay it. The visuals are actually like stunning. They're actually like one of the best looking animations. I think this kind of changes the game in terms of like what they can do with CGI. Like, if we consider that all of this is completely computer generated, built from scratch, it's insane what the artists have done. So the guys who are responsible for that, they definitely deserve like a round of applause.
I mean, they definitely need to work on emotion though.
I don't know if it was down to them or if they were like specifically instructed to like not do it to try and keep the realism of it. I don't know. I have no idea if that's the case. We spoke about Timon and Pumbaa. I felt Pumbaa in particular, Seth Rogen, I thought his voice acting and his laugh, even though it's his natural laugh, it's like
It works
reminiscent
with-
of like a warthog. Yeah, they were the highlight of the film. So apart from the visuals and Timon and Pumbaa and the opening, I like the opening.
Yeah. I mean, you can't get that wrong. And
No,
that's
you
my
can't
point.
get that
You can't
wrong.
get that
You
wrong.
can't get that
It's
wrong.
literally just scene for
Copy
scene.
paste.
Yeah, that's it.
Remaster.
Yeah.
So
Like,
oh, this is a real shame, man. This is a real
It is,
shame, man.
because
It's a
it's-
real
yeah.
shame because I was looking forward to this. But, you know, we can't force it. So, let's get into what we did not like about Lion King. I'll kick it off and then throw it to you guys. And we kind of spoke about recapturing what the original gave us. I thought a lot of the acting performances were quite flat. I was quite disappointed with Childish Gambino, who I'm a big fan of, like outside of The Lion King. I felt his performance was very, very flat. And I know I saw like in some interviews he said he chose to do his stuff alone. He didn't want to do it with Beyonce. And I think he was intimidated or he didn't want to. I don't know. But I think it definitely showed. In some of the takes, I was thinking if I was in a room with her, I'd be like, do that again.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I felt like the voice acting, especially his, I felt like was very flat. About Daryl, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, just going off that with the performances being flat, it's very possible, and I said this before, is that the expressions on the faces might have helped the performance of these voices.
Do you reckon they were told tone it down because if you play
It
it up,
won't look realistic.
it won't. If you play up the voices like you're saying, oh, that, but then the faces are saying something different.
Exactly, and that's my
then
issue.
they say, okay, just tone it down just a notch.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, for me, expression's everything, and I just didn't feel like when I'm watching these iconic scenes on the screen, I'm not feeling it. Even the Mufasa death, a big deal in this whole film. The way they played that scene, yes, it was pretty much correct how they done it, but then even like the cinematography on the part where I think when Scar grabs his hands, and there's a little like sort of like silhouette where he comes into his face saying "Long live the King." I mean, this was just like "Long live the King." And it was just like, there was no emotion in that. And even the drop, the slow motion drop, obviously when I was a kid, I felt that, you know? But this was just like, it was just really rushed,
It could've been more dramatic.
right? Yeah. And I think to a certain extent, that's what hurts this film, is that because you're expecting these scenes to happen, you know everything that's happened in this film. So in some cases, I felt quite bored watching the film because I know what's going to happen.
I agree, yeah.
I was just like, oh, when is this going to end? And it's not because it's a bad film. It's I know what's going to happen. So I feel like these films can never really achieve I don't know what Disney are trying to achieve with these films.
Please.
Yeah, well,
Money, bro. Buy up all the properties, Marvel, all of that. Give it to us.
I mean, the thing is, I don't know who this film is targeting because I don't know anyone that will walk out that cinema and go, yes, I'm buying this over the original. Has there been a remake where everyone's gone, I loved it more than the original? I don't even know if that's possible. Yeah, that's my point. I just feel like some of the scenes were just really flat.
Like the scene with when Simba meets Nala again for the first time after
man.
years, and you know, like she pins him down, and she's like Nala,
Yeah.
and it was over like that.
Yeah.
But in the cartoon, it
There
was
was
more
like a
like
little interaction.
she was like really looking at his face and kind of studying
But
it.
again, that goes to the expression, isn't it?
Yeah,
And I think that's probably why they didn't put that in, because they have to work on because there's a puzzlement in her face. So she's like, if that's a word, she looks at him, she's just like, Simba? You know what I mean? Like they can't do that because there's that realistic
I've seen
faces.
they were quite creative with some of the camera shots as well. Even with the singing, like they would pan the camera around so it's like at the side or at the back, so it's not directly showing them talk. But what about you, James?
I think one of my main things which you brought up was the Mufasa death scene. That actually really annoyed me because they ruined it hard. For me, they butchered it. In the cartoon, it's "Long live the King." And he's like, "Long live the King," and he smacked him up in his face and then dropped off. And it was just like, how can you ruin like such a great scene? I just thought to myself, really, is this how you lot going on? Like, do you even care?
I had high hopes for it as well because the director John Favreau?
Yeah.
John Favreau, he's done the first Iron Man, he's done a Jungle Book as well, so I had high hopes for it.
He's also done Iron Man 2, which was terrible. But fine.
They were very boring characters, and without the emotion in their face, it just made it worse. At least in Jungle Book, like the animals actually had emotion, and I don't know if you lot seen the live action one that Disney did. It's much better than this.
But I think reason why, and this is why I'm saying that's what this film suffers from, is Mowgli is the live action character, so it allows them to kind of like create emotion.
You can get emotion from him.
From him. Yeah. Whereas this was just full on photorealistic. And I don't know why they couldn't do that. Like, you know,
I feel like they still could have kept the photorealistic vibe of this film and still added more emotion. Because you see them wildlife documentaries, you see animals be sad, even though they can't. There's ways you could display that on film to make it show it. But one thing I wasn't particularly pleased with, it seemed like this was largely like a copy and paste film, but they took out a lot of Rafiki. I didn't really like that because he's a pivotal character in terms of making Simba want to come back home, etc.
Especially that scene, they took out the squash banana. Where was that at, bro?
Can you do that again?
Another scene they also ruined was Simba talking to Mufasa. It was a cloud. It wasn't even shaped. It wasn't even shaped like Mufasa.
You just see the light. They could have done that better.
I was like, you lot really going on like this?
What I will say also is this film felt like I was watching a Nature Channel episode of like Dynasties or something, because like the beginning definitely was like a nature film, nature program. I was just waiting for David Attenborough to be like, yes, and blah blah. The whole film, even the bits that were really like, you know, dead, they just really felt like even the chase scene with Pumbaa, you know, he's being chased by Nala. That just, I was watching a documentary.
Now we can see the young warthog being surrounded by the hyenas. Will he escape from the situation? Let's watch and find out.
even his scene where he goes, she's gonna eat me. None of that. Like, there was no. Anyway, I've gone over this.
All right, James. Anything else you wanted to add on? Things you didn't like?
No, that was it. Just like the Scar situation. I thought, like, apart from him butchering the Mufasa death scene, I thought he did an all right job as Scar. But obviously, the emotions betrayed the whole, like, his voice acting. I think he had probably the most potential out of everyone else to actually probably be a much better character if they actually gave him emotions. And I think they ruined that for him. They really ruined that for him because he really sounded decent. Apart from like a little bit of monotone scenes now and then, his voice acting, like he really sounded like he was really loathing and like the hatred. You could hear it in his voice.
I mean, I'll be honest, I wasn't a fan of this Scar only because obviously Jeremy Irons played the original, and I just feel like the little tones in his voice, like even when he slapped Simba's mum, I just like the way how Jeremy Irons actually dominated that scene, and dominated the character Scar, because Scar is just as important as Mufasa in terms of the voice actor. But then I heard that Jeremy Irons didn't want to do it, so I guess you just got to go with what you didn't have. So
after our discussion, what we liked, what we didn't like, we're going to get into our final scores and conclude our review. So James, I'm going to come to you first. What's your score out of 10? I'm looking forward to this for Lion King. The legendary Lion King.
Don't you dare ever call this film legendary.
No, I'm saying the legendary
Lion King. Cool, yeah. If we were talking about that then, yeah. This film, 6.
6?
Yeah, 6. Like, as I was coming out of the film, like, when I wasn't thinking about it, I thought maybe a 7. But then, like, over time, like, thinking back on, like, how much they butchered in this film, like, they have ruined a very good childhood film for me. Like, it was, like, this is a childhood film. They ruined, like, they have ruined this film. Like, I actually need to go back and watch the cartoon version to feel better now.
Fair enough. 6 from James. What about you, Daryl?
I think because obviously I've watched the cartoon, I've watched the theatre production. I went to the theatre to watch this as well.
Theatre production is amazing. Go check that if you haven't seen it already.
Right, and that's the weird thing is I'm saying that is, you know, is actually good, and then this kind of this is probably one of the best Disney movies they've ever made, and it was kind of it's a bit of a shambles, bit of low monotone type of movie. The cast wasn't that particularly fun. You know, they had Beyonce and Childish Gambino. You would assume there'll be some sort of, But yeah, man, I'm not gonna be as harsh. But I mean, I'm gonna give this a 6.5. Just wasn't it, man. Just wasn't it.
So just echo what everyone has said before. Visually beautiful.
One of the best.
Even as he said, the last scene where in the rain and the mane is wet and everything, it looked incredible. But that being said, it's something that we've seen before, so it's very hard to get excited for it. I don't think my pulse was raised at all in this movie, which is a real shame. The majority of my score is because of the CGI. but yeah, something pretty. It's like a pretty woman with not much substance.
I hear that.
So I'd give this a 6. So yes, that has been our review for The Lion King. What did you think about it? Do you think we're being harsh at all? Did you enjoy it? Is it on par with the original? Is it not? Disney trying to fleece us of our money? Will you be continuing to watch in live action? Put that in the comments. From all of us at Agents of Screen, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Until the next video, peace. Oh, yeah, our average score is somewhere around there. 6 point something. It's 6 point something. But yeah, see you later.